the situation has become extremely tense for our three poor souls. Angelica Caldwell, you have been shot in the chest, although you're not entirely sure where. It's all happened so quick, so fast, and the strangest thing of all, you are standing still, which is very odd. You'd thought you'd be in a far more critical condition, but for some strange reason you are able still to stand, and the pain isn't that bad. Maybe your wound isn't as bad as it could be. Again, you have no idea, you haven't even looked. Everyone's attention has been drawn to what's happening in the room. Genesis Caldwell has suddenly emerged, wielding a gun, claiming she's been listening in. George Caldwell, you'll know that's not very good. If she's been listening in, she's basically heard Tyler Edgerton confessing to having been engaged in some very unpleasant acts. Something about trying to summon a dead person, trying to put that person in your daughter, and from Angelica's reaction, her not knowing this has all been backed up by the individual you came here to find in the first place, known to most of you at this point only as Eve. Her implying that what is happening is not her fault, but actually Tyler's. The conversation was getting rather tense, and unfortunately, things are even more tense. Genesis is pointing the gun at Tyler, but then, Angelica, you left your father's arms, who was trying to take you out of the room, perhaps to try and get an ambulance outside, although, George, you would know that that's going to be very difficult. You're in a very remote part of town. You have no idea when the ambulance will get here, and you have no idea what to do while you're waiting with a gunshot wound. But she then stepped away from you, which shouldn't be possible, and she is now actually standing defiantly in front of Tyler. As this scene unfolds, you see Genesis kind of look nervous and then point the gun at Eve. She screams, "You! Put the fucking gun down! Put the fucking gun down!" Eve slowly begins to lower her gun, giving you a look, Tyler. Tyler Edgerton, what do you do? The situation is very tense.
I'm torn. On the one hand, this woman who I genuinely do love is obviously injured. Whether or not she's acting that way, I'm seeing all the slides from medical school, from trauma medicine in my head. On the other hand, when you're dealing with emergency medicine, they tell you the first thing you have to do is secure the situation. It's trained in soldiers that if there's bullets flying around, you can't stop to help your buddy. That just means both of you are going to get shot. Angelica's on her feet, and I'm not going to get into the why or how of how that's happening right now, but that gives me the idea that there's at least enough time to maybe diffuse the situation before she starts to collapse from pain or blood loss when the adrenaline wears off. So against my human instinct to care for this person immediately, I need to make sure that no one else is going to get gunned down in the meantime. I've never been close to Genesis. I was for a little bit, but that ship has sailed. But I need to know what's going on with her. What has sparked this? She's gone from just generally disapproving to our relationship and becoming slowly more and more antagonistic over the last few days to now this. Is it possible for me to use intuition here and maybe pull something out that I can help to calm the situation down?
It certainly is. Feel free to roll intuition.
It's not the worst it could be. That's a 12.
12 means you get one question. Such questions can be things like, are you lying? How do you feel right now? What are you about to do? What do you wish I would do? And how can I get you to ...
Easy decision. How can I get you to put the gun down?
This is going to be extremely difficult. Taking a moment of self-reflection, which is rare of Tyler, you do realize if she's been listening, she's heard you say, I tried to summon the spirit of someone from the dead. I tried to put it in you. Sorry I didn't tell you. Oh no, now it's gone wrong. Oh no, now we're all gonna die. That doesn't sound very good, considering that she believes you to be a evil being trying to murder her sister, or at least corrupt her. You've just kind of admitted you are. Granted, she doesn't actually understand the story, that's the problem. However, you do also notice that right now she is pointing the gun at Eve. Eve, after all, is the one with the gun. Eve has begun to lower a gun, ever so slightly, though she is giving you a look. How could you get her to drop the gun? Or maybe do as she says? Maybe convince her that you are not a threat? The only issue there is convincing her that the other person in the room with a gun isn't a threat.
I'd like to approach this from two angles. I would like to appeal to Genesis through her sister and say, you can do whatever you need to do to me later, but right now, your sister is in grave danger, medically speaking. With the hope that if that goes well, once Eve sees the situation calming down, that will have tamped down that fire long enough for me to think of something else to help on that end. I would I collect myself as best as possible, still hands in the air, very, very defensive, open, non-threatening posture. And I would explain in not graphic, but severe medical terms what is happening. I would say, Genesis, your sister has a close contact gunshot wound. At the surface, that means the thermal effect. There's going to be deflagration, the searing of skin and hairs. Below that, just inside the wound, is the soot deposition. The carbon from the combustion of the gunpowder is now inside her body. There's stippling behind that. And then going into describing what it's like when the ballistic shock starts moving organs around, how the fluids in her body have started to burst open different vessels and making those things sound absolutely terrible. And then saying, I can help her now. We can keep her stabilized. But no matter what you're feeling right now, if you want your sister to live, we just need to deal with this and calm down just for a second. You can do to me whatever you want later. But if nothing else, for your sister, can we just a second?
Well, fine. Fuck you, I don't care. Just do whatever you have to do. Again, she is no longer pointing the gun at you. She now is firmly pointing the gun at Eve. Eve kind of just gives you a look. She's not raising her gun. She does start to put it down on the ground and then raise her own hands.
Genesis, no, I understand. But this woman here, you've been listening. She has nothing to do with what's going on. Everyone in this room is a victim of something, and it's my fault. So just you can worry about me, and I won't leave your sight until all of this is resolved. However it's going to be resolved. Okay. But Eve, if Genesis puts her gun down and you put your gun down, then we can all. It might not all work out, but I'll do my damnedest to see that it does.
Genesis looks undecided. She is very angry, clearly, but she's also a little panicked. You can see that, Angelica. It's not like your sister is some trained mercenary. She's just like you, really. This is a very extreme situation. George, what do? You see that your daughter pulled away from you. You were trying to get her out of the room, but now she's standing by Tyler. Oh, so your other daughter is in the room waving a gun around. She does seem to be calming a little. What are you going to do? Do you actually want her to calm down? After all, you need to get this woman. And Tyler, well, you have no idea what you think of Tyler at the moment.
Everyone just needs to calm down a bit. Let's try and put the weapons down, all right? And no one else has to get hurt, all right? I say, and I do try to legitimately calm the situation down. I mean, there's really no reason to be shooting each other. And seeing that my daughter has been shot, I'm barely holding on, to be honest. I can't even begin to describe how messed up this has become. And part of me wonders, is this partly my fault? Is Genesis here because of what I did? Was it because I called? Or was she following us? But then I try to regain control and just go, come on, just everyone calm down.
And finally, what about you, Angelica? Everyone else is speaking, but you're the one standing. It doesn't hurt that much. You feel very cold, but your chest doesn't hurt that much. It does hurt a little on the side, actually, the very side of your chest. Does that mean... Where did the bullet actually go? You don't know. What's going through your mind as this happens?
As I hear Tyler describing to my sister what is actually happening inside my body at the moment, I think I start swaying a little bit, and as my hand goes up to my chest, trying to find where the bullet went in, I look down at my hand and I could see the blood on it, and it's like unreal, because it doesn't hurt. Or I look at my sister and I just...
Genesis starts to lower the gun. She tries to sound calm, even though she clearly isn't. Do what you need to do to save her, Tyler. And then we're bringing this one in. Isn't that right, Dad? We're bringing her. We're gonna take her to the church, and then we're gonna call Mom, and then she's getting arrested, and Tyler, you're gonna confess to the police what you've done, and you're gonna get arrested too. If you do that, then I don't need to shoot anybody.
Let's just all stay calm, all right? And let's just stay here and make sure everyone's all right. It's gonna be fine.
Tyler, if you want to do anything, now is the time to act under pressure. But give yourself a +1. You do know what you're doing, after all. It's just the situation's a little stressful.
Oh yeah, 20.
You quickly run to Eve's side, grabbing a medical bag that obviously she brought with her. You notice Eve is just being very quiet. She's looking at you with a very stern look and keeping an eye on her gun that, even though she's dropped, is still by her. But you're not focusing on that. You quickly move to a chair to attempt to see where the wound is. There's a lot of blood, but you notice very quickly it's not coming from her center. It's not coming from her chest, her belly. It's coming from the side. You quickly look, and you see a very nasty graze. It seems almost impossible, but you think, even though it looked like the bullet was caught straight in the chest, did she move at the last moment? She must have. It's only grazed her. The bullet just grazed her side. Still, obviously, a very bad injury, but the bullet isn't inside her. It can't be. Not with the blood coming from here.
I'll make quite the show, keeping the urgency on my face, constantly looking back and forth between the various persons, even yelling out George for the gauze.
Yeah, sure.
And then, yeah, I'll have to deal with this second question later. Right now, it's the acting in the mood that matters.
Then you begin doing so. Of course, while you're doing this, you are actually attending to the wound, aren't you?
It's not going to be anywhere near as difficult as I thought, but...
You know what to do. The key here is stitching the wound up to make sure she doesn't suffer from blood loss. After all, it is bleeding very heavily. But with some basic stitching, you are able to actually stabilize the wound. Of course, this does need to still be seen by a proper hospital team. Right now, it's extremely easy for it to just come open again, for example, or get infection, even though you do have some sterilizing stuff in the kit as well. But for now, the critical wound has been stabilized, although, of course, Angelica, you cannot receive another one.
As I finish that last little bit of suturing, tie together the small knot with those strings, I take the gauze compress that George has given me, and I'm holding it on her side. And just for a second, I'm going to let the whole world just kind of go away, because I want to be just eye to eye, very close to Angelica, and say, no matter what happens to me, you're going to be okay, all right?
Am I okay?
You've been shot. I don't think okay is the right word here, but...
Are we gonna be okay?
That depends a lot on some questions I don't have the answer to right now. But whatever happens, you're gonna make it. That's what's important to me, okay?
Be careful, okay?
You know me. And I'll give her a very inappropriate for the situation wink. That's how I've always been able to bring her off the edge, is with a little bit of humor. And I guess after that, I'm gonna slowly retreat from her back to hands out and say, and try to continue my appeal to Genesis. Like, we've stabilized this, but...
George, what are you doing? You see Tyler doing something. Your daughter seems okay. Maybe. You don't know. You're not a doctor. But more importantly, what are you doing with regard to everyone else? Again, this woman, gun still near her. She could easily quickly pick it up again if she wanted, and again, Genesis is lowering her gun for the moment, but easily could pull it up again.
Well, I mean, I don't want my daughter to have to shoot someone, you know? I don't want it to go that way. I'm still hoping that, you know, we're gonna get some help here, or there's gonna be some way that all this will come together without having to engage in any kind of, you know, violence, because that's not what I want to do. So I'm just trying to keep things as calm as possible, while making sure that Angelica is being taken care of and that her wound is being seen to. And I'm keeping an eye out for what this Eve person is doing. If she decides to bolt, then I think we're going to have to try and go after her.
How has Genesis taken this so far? Does it look like we're making progress on bringing her down a little bit?
She seems calmer, but again, that's clearly just because she can see you are doing things that her sister needs. She is still looking at you very carefully, and Eve as well.
I would like to convince Eve that playing along and going with Genesis is the right move, because then Eve and I can destroy whatever he is. That there's another obvious power in evil. I'm going to need Eve's help to defeat it. She knows that based on my ineptitude. And if I can do that without letting Genesis for sure, and maybe George, I'm not sure about George yet. If I can do it without letting them catch on, all the better.
Well, Tyler, that certainly is possible. The challenge is, as you said, trying to communicate with Eve while both Genesis and George are listening. You're not entirely sure what you could say, but you can certainly try to say something.
I know with Genesis it would be... reason is not going to go well with her. Alright, so I will turn to Genesis and say, you're right, it's my fault, and I got into this mess because of things that I shouldn't be knowing, and you heard that, you know, and then I'll gesture to Eve, at this point also making sure that my palms are turned towards Genesis so she can see her sister's blood all over them, keeping the gravity of the situation there. You heard her say just as much, that it's all my fault, right? So why don't we all go, and then whatever the pastor has to say about it, or whatever he's going to do about it, Eve would be able to help us with him.
You don't get it, do you? No. Dad, tell it. We're here for her. But we now know that you were involved as well. It's the other way around. She's the one who's causing all the problems. She's the one who's been killing people, Angelica. You know that, right? Isn't that right, Dad? Tell them.
Well, yeah. Yes, we need to go and speak with the pastor. He needs to make all this right. You know, there's been so much sinning done, so many bad things that go completely against the word of God. But we can make it right, you know? And the pastor can help us make it right.
The pastor has nothing to do with this. Why are you always so eager to involve him?
Because he saved my life. He saved our lives as a family. We would be nothing without him. That's why.
This moment, Eve rudely interrupts, and you can see, Tyler, that things are not going well for you, because she, of course, immediately says, "Fuck that! Fuck that! Do you want to know, sweetie? Do you know why they keep wanting to involve the pastor and things? Because they're his minions. They're his pawns. I knew it, Tyler. I knew it. You're all working for him. I am not going to the pastor. Fuck that!" What do, Tyler? You see that Eve is probably going to go for the gun on the ground. She clearly doesn't want to go to the pastor. After all, Tyler, this is all brand new to you. What are they talking about? Bring her to the pastor? Why would he want her? Although, of course, it does hit you. Didn't your passenger has been telling you this entire time that the one who killed him, the one responsible, is the pastor? That's why he wants you to kill him for him.
Which I am more than happy to do. But I know better than to just go in empty-handed, eschatologically speaking. And I need Eve to know that without letting Genesis in on the secret. So that's the tricky thing to thread, is how can I say to Eve, essentially, like, I'm going to go try to do this for our mutual friend, but as evidenced, I'm an occult fuck-up.
I tell you what. Let's make a reason roll. This will not be a reason move. Let's just make a straight roll of your reason and see how well you do. Can you come up with something in your mind?
+2, 16.
Okay, this is a very bad situation, but it occurs to you, maybe just go over to Eve. Maybe pretend like you're going to try and take the gun from her, or try and, tie her up or something. You could very quickly lean in and whisper something, anything. You won't have long, but you could say something quickly, and if you just go and do it now, again, she is looking very like she's about to bolt, but if you're just very quick and very confident, maybe you can quickly get in and say something under your breath.
I'll start moving towards her slowly. If it looks like she's going to dive for the gun, I will dive for it first. And then the plan is that whether I get close enough or whether we end up tussling for it, I will whisper in her ear, we can bring Wayne back.
Well, you go forwards, but you don't need to make a reflexes roll because you are just quicker than her. It's the posture you take, that and the fact that she does notice Genesis raise the gun again, and she realizes quite quickly you think that if she tries to tussle with you, she's going to get shot. So you manage to quickly go, grab the gun, and you lean in and say that. She gives you a very incredulous look. And then the room begins to shift. Suddenly, none of you are where you were a moment ago. George, Angelica, Tyler, and Genesis. You all look around, and you're in an apartment somewhere. It's extremely dark. Very dark. What do you do, George?
I try and get my bearings, try to understand, where am I? Where are we? What's going on?
You're in some sort of apartment, and Genesis is here as well. Genesis looks at you, really confused. She tries to raise the gun at Tyler, and she doesn't have it on her. Tyler, you can see this, and you can see she doesn't actually have the gun in her hands anymore, but you can tell she hasn't noticed yet, as she kind of almost says, "What are you... Stop this black magic! Stop it! What? Fuck! Where's my gun?"
I'll be alright, Genesis. Just don't worry, just stay close to Daddy, alright?
Do you go towards Genesis in any way, George?
I'll try to get close to her. I want to make sure that I can help protect her in case she's unarmed. There are some people who, well, might want to hurt her, and I'm not going to allow that to happen. She's my daughter, and we are on the same side here. We want what's best for the family, and we know what that is. We know that the pastor can help us.
You go to quickly make sure your daughter is fine, and she does lean into you, saying, "Oh fuck, Dad! I've lost the gun! What's he doing? What's he fucking doing?" Angelica. Genesis is clearly freaking out, but you aren't, because you are now used to this. It's another vision. You can tell now, it's obvious. You're not really here, are you? But it seems like you're here. What do? You notice, by the way, that your wound feels fine. I mean, it's not fine, clearly not fine, but it's only a dull ache rather than a intense pain.
Oh, shut the fuck up, Genesis. You're always so dramatic. I tried to find some kind of light source.
You start looking around for a way of turning on the lights. Tyler, what about you? You're in a vision again. You can tell too.
Do I have a sense of when this vision has taken place? How far in the past, how far in the future?
No, you don't. It doesn't seem like you're in some ancient castle or some futuristic sci-fi world. It looks like a normal person's apartment.
All right, but the decor isn't, like, obviously from, like, the 50s or 70s or something.
No. Angelica, as you go to find a light source, the entire apartment is suddenly lit quite well as a door bursts open. Someone is thrown to the ground, very hard, by two men. You can't make out their faces. It's like they're covered in shadow. But they don't seem to be very nice, and they're definitely hurting the man. The man on the ground is whimpering. You can see he's been beaten badly. There's suddenly blood splatter all the floor.
Oh god, I have a very important question. Is Wayne still in me?
You can't feel him right now. Rather unusual, actually.
Is it because he's currently on the floor?
You look at the man on the ground, and he briefly looks up at you, and you see a familiar face. Currently badly beaten, though. But you think it is. You think it's Wayne on the ground.
Okay. The two gentlemen who threw them there, do they look like goons from the pastor's church?
You have no idea. They are cloaked in this weird shadow. But you do notice one of them is quickly moving around the room with a gasoline can. He's throwing gasoline everywhere. One of the other men then leans down and gives a firm, hard kick to the man on the ground. Now, nothing personal, eh? You had this coming.
Do I still have my gun?
No, you don't.
Oh, damn.
But nothing personal, eh? You've heard that before. Just a day ago. Same tone, same inflection.
That's the one who stopped me outside of the security screening. I mean, it all makes sense. This is something that I kind of knew generally, but now I mean, it's not evidence that I can take to a police officer, but I know Wayne has answers that he can't give me in his current form. Can I interact with this vision, or try to?
You try, but the figures are insubstantial when you try and reach out for them. It seems you can't really interact with what you're seeing, only see it happening. Angelica, what are you doing? Suddenly, there are men in this room, beating someone up badly and throwing gasoline everywhere.
Do I see Tyler trying to interact with the vision?
You do, yes.
I steel myself and kind of will this vision away. I want to see the room we're in. I want to see if my sister's still holding a gun, or if there's a gun on the floor, and I want to see everything around me for real, not the vision.
You do better than that as you close your eyes and simply decide this isn't real. It suddenly isn't. You are back. You see Tyler standing there, gazing into space. You see your father in a similar position, and you see Genesis also just sort of muttering to herself, staring into space, holding the gun, but not seeming to be aware she's holding the gun. You also very quickly notice that in this scenario, Eve is looking at all of you, has picked her own gun up again, and is quickly looking towards Genesis. She's going to try and get the gun off her. You can tell this, but you're back. What do you do?
I move up to Genesis and try to gently wring the gun from her hand before Eve gets there.
You do so easily, largely because Eve wasn't expecting you to suddenly be out of this stupor. You quickly get the gun out of your sister's hand, point it at Eve. Eve stops. Says, "Fuck." Fine, okay, fuck. I thought I had something there.
I don't think you want to kill me again.
I didn't want to kill you in the first place, but what can I say? You're trying to kill me. It's fair, isn't it?
No, I'm not. We're gonna sort this. Just listen to Tyler, okay? I think he knows what he's talking about.
Knows what he's talking about? You're whoever these people are. I'm assuming your family. You want to take me to him. You do as well. I am not going to him. I'm not going to that fucking pastor.
No, fuck no. I'm not going to him either. He's scary as... Yeah. If they're gonna get me there, they're gonna get me dragging. But at least now they don't have a gun. So just back off and don't do anything stupid that you will regret, okay?
I'm regretting not getting out of here. I just want to get out of it. That's all I want. I just want you to leave me alone and get out of here.
In due time, okay? Don't worry about it. I walk up to Tyler. Is he still staring off into the distance?
He is indeed. Tyler and George. One moment in this vision, Angelica was there, then she isn't. What are you doing, George? Again, in this vision, Genesis is looking at you, terrified and screaming, "Dad, we need to stop him. He's doing something. He's doing something. It has to be Tyler!"
Maybe. But I don't know what to do. Sweetie, I don't know what to do. Just... Let's just keep our eyes open, alright? I have no idea what to do here, really. I'm just looking around trying to understand what's happening.
Tyler, what about you? You think something is about to happen quite significant because they're lighting matches and you see the man on the ground just screaming and then briefly looking at you. Wayne looks at you and just screams, "What did you do? What did you do?"
There are two things that I need to accomplish. One is to get all of us, maybe not Genesis, wouldn't mind, out of here before the room catches fire. And the other piece would be to convince George and Genesis that these are the pastor's people. So I'm going to... this is aggressive now. Like, what did I do? Genesis, you've been to that church more than anybody else. Who has that voice?
I don't... What?
Don't fuck with me, Genesis. You know who it is. Does that seem like the kind of person that a good pastor would keep around?
No!
You want to sit here and watch as they burn him alive?
Oh, no, fuck you! You're trying to confuse me! You admitted it! You tried to summon a devil and put it in my sister without her knowledge! What the fuck are you, Tyler?
Can I do a vulgar display of occultism? And I want to run up and just grab her and see if I can anchor her in the moment to some kind of like let her be exposed to kind of this world in a soulful way. And then once she's gotten the full, like, just baptize her in this stuff, dunk her head down so she can see the truth, and then we'll all get out of here, hopefully.
That is going to be rather tricky. If you want to try and quickly do some sort of ritual to maybe open her eyes to all this, you can. But you're very aware that's probably going to drive her insane. That's not really how this works. You don't just throw people into occult visions. You don't think that would help. But maybe you don't care. Maybe you want her to suddenly be driven to madness. It might, for example, make her easier to stop in the situation. You might be able to knock her out, perhaps, or tie her up easier. Your choice.
I know for a fact I could do that to Genesis. I don't know that I could do that to Angelica or to George.
No. But luckily for you, your hesitancy does mean that things continue regardless of your actions. The flat is suddenly ablaze with flame. You feel the flames begin to lick over you. George, you too. Genesis screeches and holds onto you for dear life as suddenly you're all in a blazing inferno. And as you are in this inferno, Tyler, you see Wayne reach out to you and grab your arm. "You can't hurt Eve! I won't let you hurt Eve! You stupid boy! Ah!" Please roll to keep it together, George and Tyler.
It's a 4.
12.
George, you hold on to your daughter. Maybe that's what makes this not quite so terrible for you, because in Genesis there is a physicality that isn't actually present in this vision. It's just a vision. It's terrifying, but it is just a vision. You only lose one stability and are overcome with emotion. What is the emotion?
Fear. I'm scared. I stand to lose both of my daughters here, and this nightmarish situation, it's completely overwhelming. I don't know what to do, but Genesis is there, and I have to protect her. I have to do everything that I can to protect her. I have to give my life for her if it's what it will take. We're gonna get through this alive. She is, at least, and Angelica is. That's for sure. I'll make sure of that. That's why I'm here.
Tyler, it's all too much. You were just thinking of doing something. Hell, for a moment you even think to yourself you were thinking of damning Genesis to hell, perhaps. But yes, it's like you said, you don't care about Genesis, but what would Angelica think? Would she be happy that you destroyed her sister's mind? Clearly not. And now Wayne is upon you, his flaming corpse, and you're burning with him. And the last straw, perhaps, is just suddenly in your mind remembering what Eve's been saying. Is this all your fault? You thought it was something she did, but she's saying she didn't get to do it in time. Something was interrupted. All of this? Could this be your fault? After all, you thought you knew what you were doing, but the truth is you didn't. Not really.
As this building erupts into flames around us, and I feel Wayne's hands chalky and charred on my arms, I just collapse down onto my knees. It's the total, like a sinkhole where all that ego used to be. And now there's just an emptiness around it, and this spiral of going through the sequence of events and how it started with Angelica and the graveyard, and then all of these things that have happened since that. Had I just been a little more intelligent or a little less bold. And it's paralyzing.
It is. Lose -4 stability. Meanwhile, time is passing, Angelica, and how much time you don't know. Has it been seconds? A minute? Everyone else is still in some strange dream world. You can't really see what's going on with them. But you are here with E pointing the gun at her, and she, for the moment, is keeping her gun lowered. Wait, young lady. Okay, so let me get this straight. You're saying you aren't working with the pastor. How's that possible? Your I don't know who these other people are. Your fathers, your cousin or something? They are, so you're saying you're not?
It's my dad and my sister, and yeah, I think they are. I don't think they realize that they are, but they are working for him. I think. I'm not sure.
Why did you go for my gun, then? I was about to negotiate with you.
I don't know why. Everything was moving so quickly, and I just needed some kind of control, I think.
Well, now you have it. You have it now. Listen, if you really want to actually get out of this, and you're not working for him, I'm not going to him. But if you help me, then I can help you. Then I will help you. I'm not going to do it for free. I need something to keep myself safe. But if you help me with that, then I am willing to negotiate. I was willing to negotiate with bloody Tyler. He's just a bloody arrogant fool.
What is it you need?
First of all, I don't know how long whatever's going on with your friends is going to keep going. So just... She starts raising the gun. Let me point the gun at your father. You point the gun at your sister. We're not shooting them, but we need them contained. Understand? Or, quickly, you've got some... If we have time, maybe tie up one of them or something. And then we can talk.
Or you get out of here and meet us later when we gotten rid of them.
You need...
I can't point a gun at my dad. No matter if he's working for the pastor or not.
Well, you have to understand, you're just willing to go in there and murder this man. I have a better way of doing it, but if you are willing to just go in there and point blank shoot him, you can. I can't guarantee you will get... The police won't arrest you. I have a better way, but it needs time, and I'm willing to trust you, young lady, despite what you did, but I do not trust these other family members of yours.
I think they're just lost. The hand that's not holding the gun, I kind of grab a hold of Tyler's hand, and I softly squeeze it, hoping to bring him back, helping him to get out of the vision.
You do that, and Tyler does seem to be looking more and more distressed. Please, at this point, make a influence other roll. Let's see if you've actually convinced this woman to go along with your plan, at least for the moment. And give yourself a +1, because Tyler was trying to do that as well. He just got robbed of the opportunity. But he did lay some groundwork.
11.
She raises a gun, frowns, looking at you saying, well, I'm going to hold a gun on them, I'm sorry. But if you're not going to shoot me immediately, then, well, you're just going to have to deal with that, aren't you?
Yeah, then we'll just start over again, I guess.
Tyler collapses into you suddenly, screaming at the top of his voice before weeping as he just collapses to the ground. George, you are back. You're back, you're not on fire, you're fine. Genesis has been crying a little, but she also seems to be aware that she's back, although she does immediately go, wait, what? Where's my gun?
I look around. What am I seeing now?
you are back. You see your daughter, your other daughter, Angelica. She now has Genesis' gun. How did that happen? You see Eve fully back to pointing the gun at you and your daughter Genesis, and Tyler is currently just weeping on the floor uncontrollably. However, you do notice that while Angelica isn't pointing the gun at anyone, she just has it on her, the woman isn't pointing a gun at her. She seems more concerned with you and Genesis.
I don't want us to get shot here, so I'm kind of just slowly raising my hands, trying to seem as unthreatening as possible. There's not much else I can do.
Indeed, and Genesis does as well, beginning to cry in frustration and anger. You can feel it coming off her. George, you've never seen her this angry before. She is full of this rage, but she's trying to contain it. Meanwhile, Angelica, what do? Tyler is completely, just almost utterly inconsolable on the ground.
I hold him. I hold him close and, well, I do keep the gun in my hand. But I try to just, I tell him, I'm here, you're okay, don't worry. Come back to me, Tyler. We need you. You can't leave us here. It's nothing, it's okay, you're fine.
Tyler, what do? You are aware that you are back in reality, but the vision is still quite heavy.
I'm sobbing at this point with crippling neuroses over all of this. And even as Angelica tries to make me feel better about it, that's what I've been doing to her this whole time, right? It's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. We're going to make it, baby. But she's as wrong now as I was wrong then. This thing that's been set into motion by my hubris is now it's shattering around all of us, and hearing her be so kind and sweet about it, honest to God, just makes it worse. That's the kind of person the kind of person capable of that forgiveness is the exact kind of person who I've ruined through this. So through the tears and the ragged breath, I'm just saying, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Well, this is all extremely touching, but we don't have time for whatever the hell's going on. I can only assume that you all had a vision, right? Yes, Angelica, is that what you were in?
Yeah, it's an apartment and some guys roughing up another person. I think it was the same that I kind of look towards Tyler. That man. I don't know what happened after that. Kind of look towards my sister and my father. I'm guessing it wasn't anything good.
This is a chance for some radical honesty, perhaps, and especially being set off by the phrase, "Oh, it's not good." I say, no, it's worse than not good. That pastor and the goons he keeps around, his thugs, broke into an apartment of a man they were afraid of. They beat him into a bloody pulp and then burned him alive. All of this, and I'm speaking pretty much just to Angelica at this point. I'm loud enough for everyone else to hear, but she's the only one I'm really trying to communicate with. All of this starts there. That man, his name was Wayne, my mentor and my friend. I've told you the story 100 times. He went missing. That's what the police say. That's what your wife said, George. But he's not gone. And I just gesture at myself. I thought that I could bring him back from wherever he is, put the parts of him together. That's why we went where we did. That's why we did the things that... I can't do anything about that. But I can do something about that wicked, horrible, terrible man. And at this point, turning to Genesis, if he finds out about any of this, do you know the next people who are going to be burned alive?
You say your piece, Tyler. But the truth is, you notice Genesis isn't really listening. She's drawn into herself. She's mumbling something you can't hear, although you can hear George. She's quietly, angrily to herself saying, "No, it can't be, no. But she is saying this to herself. She isn't really paying attention to her surroundings anymore. But what do you think, George, from what's being said?
If what is being said is true, if the pastor is actually responsible for having a man be burned or attacked in this way, that's... I mean, the pastor is protecting his flock, sure, but this isn't what a good Christian does. Not violence, not like this. It goes against everything that he teaches. It goes against everything I have learned. I just find myself being dumbfounded and not really knowing what to do. I need to try and figure out what is actually true here and what is just lies. Because, I mean, obviously it could be some attempt at perverting reality, of getting me to believe things that aren't true. I mean, I realize I should remain faithful. I should keep my faith in the pastor, yes. I mean, everything he did, he saved my daughter, he saved me. He's a good man. I have to believe that. Because if I don't believe that, then what's true?
Eve once again speaks up. Yes, Tyler, wonderful. We all know that, or now they know that. But it's more important. Time to act. If you really want to help me, tie up that girl. Tie her up. We're not killing anybody. Sorry, Angelica, but she can't be just walking around. As for you, Mr. George, is it? George, you're going to cooperate, aren't you? You don't want to get shot. If you try anything, I will shoot your daughter.
It's a very, very difficult situation. So I just tell her, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to tie anyone up.
Tyler, help me out here. You understand, right? The second I lower my guard, one of those two is going to try and come for me, right? Help me out here. I'm trying to help you. Your girlfriend, she's on board. She's on board. I can help you, but you need to actually help me.
And as she's saying that and is focused in on Tyler, I will make a move on her, trying to disarm her.
I would like you to act under pressure here as you suddenly dive forwards. By the way, as this happens, you will notice this about to happen, Tyler. Are you going to do anything? It seems like you just noticed George is about to go forward and try and get a gun off someone.
I'm losing my patience for this game. Angelica tried the exact same maneuver, saw how it worked out. I care a lot less about George in this situation, but I'm not going to let him derail this process with foolish ideas of heroism or loyalty to his obviously twisted, falling apart daughter. So the second I see him move, I will give him a split second as I spin towards him and clamp down on his arm. And if I feel even the slightest bit of resistance that he's going to go for the gun anyway, I'm taking George to the floor.
George, would you like to roll act under pressure? Meanwhile, Tyler, you will roll just your coolness, and your result will modify the other result.
So I have a -2 penalty, but that is still a 17.
Ooh, so you're going to be getting a -2 to this roll, George.
I too roll a 17, which takes it to 15.
Tyler, you go for George, and you do try to take him down, but maybe there's a moment of hesitancy. Maybe there's a surprise that George is actually surprisingly stronger than you, at least a little. Or maybe it's just a balancing thing. But George, you're able to just bang Tyler out of the way, run forward, you see the woman blink, and then you grab her arm and get the gun in your hand. You see her dart across the room, put her hands up, saying, "Fuck! Fuck!"
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play the scenario Judgment for KULT Divinity Lost. Judgment was written by Matthew Sanderson and was published as part of the Screams and Whispers scenario collection. This scenario has been sponsored by our friends at Helmgast. The music was made by Atrium Corsari, featuring a number of collaborations with other artists, and was used with permission from their label Cryo Chamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody dark ambient for your gaming table. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Nastasia Raulerson, Simon Cooper, David, Julia, Camilla, Ludwig Manford, Bob Lange, Julián, Cameron, Xabier and Antxon for their generous support. And we'd of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want early access to our content and to hear raw versions of our recordings right after we've done them, or get your name announced as a champion of the Red Moon, do check out our higher level tiers on Patreon. It's a great way to get more Red Moon role-playing in your life and to help us keep the show going. Thank you again for listening, and remember, death is only the beginning.